Hi everyone, it's Wendy here. Thank you so much for tuning into the Heal and Grow podcast, a space where we learn, reflect, and become a little wiser every day. Today, I want to talk about a question I believe everyone has wondered at some point. How can we learn effectively? How can we truly learn anything we want? Over time, I've realized that people who are truly good at learning aren't necessarily smarter. They just learn with a very clear reason. They learn to solve problems. Great learners don't ask, "Do I know this already?" They ask, "How will this help me do something better?" And that small shift in the way they ask questions completely changes the way they learn. From what I've observed in life, there seem to be two main types of people when it comes to self-learning. The first group, they learn just to know more information. They might see something interesting online, save it, watch a few minutes, or skim through an article and think, I know this already. But after that, nothing really changes. They know a lot, but they can't do much with what they know. The second group, they learn to get things done. They learn because they're trying to solve a real problem. For example, my video looks too dark. How can I fix the lighting? Or I keep forgetting English words. How can I remember them better? The moment they have a specific problem, the way they learn completely changes. They start researching, experimenting, failing, and trying again. And every time they manage to figure something out, their brain goes, "Wow, I get it now." That's dopamine. The little spark of excitement we feel when we solve something. That feeling pushes them to keep going, to keep learning, to keep improving. And without even realizing it, they fall into a beautiful cycle. They face a problem, get curious, explore, test solutions, figure it out, feel excited, and then move on to the next challenge. Over time, after many, many cycles like that, they become skilled without even noticing when it happened. Because every lesson is tied to real experience, they remember deeply, they understand fully, and they can apply what they learn right away. The more they repeat this process, the more knowledge and wisdom they accumulate, not from memorizing, but from living and doing. Meanwhile, people who only learn to know often lose interest quickly. They study for a bit but soon get bored because they don't see why they're learning it. They have information, but no real connection to life. So if you want to learn effectively on your own, choose to be in the second group. Learn because you're solving something real. When you learn to do, not just to know, you don't only get smarter, you make learning come alive. It becomes engaging, meaningful, and something you actually look forward to every single day. A lot of people think learning has to be something big, like mastering a new language, getting a degree, or becoming an expert at some complicated skill. But honestly, if you look closely, you'll see that most growth actually comes from really small things, like reading just one page before bed, listening to a short podcast while making your morning coffee, or simply pausing for a second to ask yourself, what did I learn today? Those little things, that's how you quietly build a better version of yourself. It's like drops of water. A single drop seems like nothing, but drop by drop, over time, it can even carve through stone. And for us, every small action we repeat slowly wears away procrastination, self-doubt, and that fear of failing. Sometimes you might feel like you haven't done anything big, but trust me, every time you choose to read one more page, or replay a lesson instead of scrolling on your phone, your brain is changing for real. The parts of your brain that control focus and discipline get stronger little by little, and after a while, you'll notice it's easier to start, easier to stay focused, and you actually begin to believe in yourself again. One listener once told me she watched short English videos every morning while brushing her teeth. Just 5 minutes, No big goal, no pressure. But a few months later, she realized she could understand a lot more. And even better, she started believing she could get better. That's the real reward of learning a little every day. Not just knowledge, but getting your confidence back. So don't wait for motivation to show up first, because motivation doesn't come before you start. It comes after. Each time you take even a tiny step, your brain releases dopamine, and it's like your body is saying, "Hey, that felt good. Let's do it again." So instead of asking, "How can I stay motivated?" ask yourself, "What small thing can I start with today?" Just one small thing, but something real. Because what really matters isn't how much you learn. It's that you keep going. You don't have to be loud. You don't need big achievements. As long as you still want to understand, still want to grow a little more than yesterday, that's already enough. That's what growth really is. Do you remember when we were kids, everything used to amaze us? An ant crawling on the ground, a leaf falling from a tree, or that endless question, "Why is the sky blue?" We could sit there for hours just watching, wondering, asking again and again. Back then, we weren't afraid of being wrong. We weren't scared of looking silly. We just wanted to understand, to see how the world really worked. And that was when we learned the fastest, the most naturally, and with the most joy. But as we grew up, something changed. We started to fear asking questions, to fear being wrong, to fear not being perfect. And the moment that fear appeared, our curiosity started to fade. Learning slowly became an obligation instead of an adventure. The truth is, curiosity is the natural fuel of learning. When you're curious, your brain releases dopamine, that wow feeling that makes you want to dig deeper and explore more. That's why kids can ask 100 questions a day and still smile. For them, learning is playing, and playing is learning. But for many adults, once we lose curiosity, we only learn when we have to, for a test, a certificate, or a job. We still learn, yes, but we no longer feel alive while learning. If you look around, you'll notice that the fastest learners and the most creative people all share one thing. They keep a little bit of that childlike spirit. They're not afraid to ask why. They're not afraid to try. And they're okay with failing a few times, just to really understand how something works. Curiosity shifts your focus, from fearing mistakes to wanting to understand. And when you want to understand, you learn deeper, faster, and with so much more joy. Think about it. When you're learning a new skill, writing, design, or maybe English, if you keep thinking, "I have to be good at this," you'll feel pressure. But if you simply think, how does this part actually work? Everything feels lighter, more playful, and learning starts to feel as natural as breathing. The beautiful thing is, curiosity doesn't need money or degrees or anyone's permission. You can be curious anywhere, on your way to work, while cooking, during a conversation, or even while sitting quietly and asking yourself, "What is life trying to teach me today?" Just that simple question can turn an ordinary day into something meaningful. Keeping your curiosity alive, like a child, means giving yourself permission not to know so that you can learn. It means daring to watch, to ask, to try again, even if it means getting it wrong a few more times. And the magic is, when you live this way long enough, learning stops being separate from living. You learn while you work, you learn while you love, you learn while you fail. Every experience becomes a lesson, and little by little you grow, wiser, more confident, and a little kinder with yourself and the world. You know, the most beautiful part of learning isn't how much you already know. It's that you still want to understand more. You're still curious. You still want to grow, even just a little, each day. Every time you choose to learn instead of delay, to stay curious instead of judging, you're planting a tiny seed of wisdom and patience within yourself. And one day, when you look back, you'll realize you've changed. Not because of big, dramatic leaps, but because of the small, quiet steps you kept taking with love and consistency. So if today you learned even one small thing, something that helped you see life a little differently, that's already enough. Thank you for staying until the end of this episode, and thank you for choosing to keep learning, understanding, and healing together with me. I truly believe that each of us can learn so much from life, from the people around us, and from our own inner journey. If this episode spoke to you, please follow the Heal and Grow podcast. So every week, we can keep learning something new together about language, about the mind, and about living more gently with ourselves. See you in the next episode. Wishing you a calm heart and a learning journey full of joy and wonder.